Hi everyone, welcome to my video. Today I'm going to show you how to make a slouchy beanie. Okay, so let's get straight into it. So the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to cast on 78. So I have already pushed mine forward down here, so I pre-counted it just before I started recording, just to save a bit of time. So the rib that I'm doing is a 1x1 rib. So you can see 1x1 rib, and the machine that I'm using today is the Brother KH260 machine. If you have a bulky machine yourself, then this video should be pretty good for you. So let's get straight into it. So we just put our needles back into the working position. We've casted on 78. And now we're just going to feed our yarn into the machine. Now the yarn that I'm using today is quite a thick yarn. It's the Spotlight yarn and it's a US style. It's about a 10 ply. So I've just poked my yarn down. We'll grab our little peg and just attach that to the bottom so we don't have to hold it. Now I've set my machine to 0 and to the star. And we just bring that across. So now what we need to do is we need to put on so we just poke that through and then poke the cast on comb wire through. Now this can be a little bit fiddly. If you find it a bit fiddly, just keep wiggling the wire back and forth until you get it all the way through. And we're through. So I'm just going to turn my tension up a little. So I'm going to turn it up to tension 7. Just hold my cast on comb down a little bit. So I'll just reset my counter to 0 now. And I'll hang some weights. Okay, so we can now get started. $34 and 35. So we've now done 35 of the rib. So what we're going to need to do now is that we just push forward our rib stitches, and we're going to transfer this onto the main bed. Now, if you find my videos useful, please like and subscribe, please, and hit the little bell button. It really helps me out with YouTube. And if you don't know how to do that, then there is actually, on the video itself, there's a little red button just below that says subscribe. So you just press that and that's how you do it. It's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to YouTube. And then you'll get lots and lots of free videos and free patterns of my videos. Okay, so we're just transferring this across to the main bed. So you can see it's really easy. You just poke it down, use your tool, and then you just flip it onto the main bed. Poke it down and flip it onto the main bed. So I'm just going to do that all the way across, and then I'll see you when I've finished. Okay, so I'm almost at the end of putting this across to the main bed. What I'll do is I will take off the ribber, oops, just to make it easier for you guys to see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm just going to remove the ribber and the ribber components, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I've taken the ribber off. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to attach this, and because we're going to do tuck stitch, because with making a slouchy beanie, ideally as the beanie goes out, you're going to need it to be a little bit wider. It does look better if it's a little bit wider. So don't forget, with the tuck stitch you do need your little brushes on, and we're going to have these pushed forward into the forward position. So the punch card I'm going to use for this is just the punch card 8. It's the standard punch card that comes with this machine. So I'm just attaching that on, and I'm just going to feed my yarn into the machine. So I'm going to now, well, I'll just do one plain row just so you can see what it looks like. So I've done one plain row, so now I'm going to just flip that across to card knit and make sure that my little flip on the punch card is into number 1 position. So what that will do is that will select all the needles. So, and I'm going to turn the tension up to tension number 10. So we'll bring that across. So you can see it's now selected all the needles, and then I'm going to just push down the button into the tuck position. So the 2 buttons that says tuck on your machine. So we'll flip our counter back to 0. And then we'll just bring that. Okay, so now we need to push that back into the number 4 position. And into the number 4 position, that will now just keep counting, like turning the punch card, sorry. So now we're going to knit 40 rows in the tuck position. $39, $40. Okay, so we've hit 40 rows. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to flip on our machine back to the end position, and that will take it out of the punch card setting. And we'll just bring that up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do up to row 50 in just the plain knit position. But first thing we need to do is we need to reduce the bulk, and we're going to move every second stitch across to its neighbour. And this will just reduce the bulk at the back of your slouchy beanie. Rightio, so we now have every other stitch is removed and it's onto its neighbour, so this will reduce the bulk. So what we're going to do is we're just going to turn this down a little bit, and I'm going to turn the tension down to number 7 because we don't have nowhere near as many needles in use now, so, and it will help just bring it in a little bit. Okie dokie, so we'll knit to row 50. And 50. So what we're going to do now is we'll just cut our yarn, leaving a nice long tail. Flip that down, and we're just going to remove the beanie from the machine. So we'll just push these forward a little bit just to make it a little bit easier. And don't forget to take your weights off. And get your little tool. Just thread the needle through. And then we'll pull the tail through the live stitches, because what we're going to do is once we've got it off the machine and we've sewed at the sides, is we're going to gather that up, and that will just bring the beanie in nice and tight. These are so quick and easy to make. They're heaps of fun and they look so cool. Okay, so this is what the beanie looks like now that we've taken off the machine. So what we're going to do is, you can see that this is the tuck side. So that's the side that's going to be facing out to the public, and this is the inside. So what we're going to do is, I like my brim nice and thick so it's nice and warm, so we're just going to roll this over, and I'm just going to pin it in place, and we're just going to join it together, so one end of the rib to the other. I just find that it looks nicer. I like the look of it like this. You can see that's a nice finished edge. You can do this on the machine, but the yarn that I'm using is quite thick. So I found that when I tried to do this on the machine and I attached the other end and I just rolled it up and I went to bring the machine across, it just kept getting stuck. My machine didn't like it. I mean, all machines have its own little quirks and little bits where they're a little bit temperamental and things that they don't like. So I find it easier just to do it like this. And it's something you can do while you're sitting watching telly as well, so you don't have to stay sitting at the machine. Right, so we're just going to stitch that together. Okay, so I'm back. So what I've done now is I sewed up all on the inside here of the ribbing, and you can see there it's all nicely joined and it looks really good this side. So you see the nice edge of the ribbing, you see the edge of plain, you can see where I forgot to flip over into continuous tuck straight away, but that's okay. It all looks like part of the pattern, so it'll be fine. So what we're going to do now is we're going to now sew together the sides. So what we're going to do, so we don't get a seam along the ribbed edge here, is I'm just going to thread my needle and we're just going to hold it together like this, pinch the ends, and we're going to go just in the back loop of the two ends that are joining, and then the back loop on the other side. So we're just going in the back loop again and the back loop. So then when it's joined together on the other side, it will just be a nice edge. So you won't see that it's actually stitched together there. So the back loop and back loop. Back loop, back loop. And we're just going to do that all the way till we get to the corner just here, and then we're going to sew up the edges together all the way up to the point. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've stitched up the little hole here, and I stitched up all the way to the top where we'd gathered it from the machine. So what we'll do now is we just flip it the right way, and we'll grab our little tail here. So this is what your slouchy beanie's looking like so far. So what we'll do now is we'll just gather in the top, so pull that nice and tight. We'll grab our needle and we'll just sew up the hole that we just pulled tight. So we pull it as tight as we can you might be left with a small hole, and then we just sew that closed. And then we'll poke the needle back through. And then we'll just tie it up in a little knot so that it doesn't come undone. And there we go. There's our Slouchy Beanie. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my videos, and you'll get a lot more updates of quick and easy videos for beginners. There we go, all done.